Greetings guys, let's have a look at Apple. So what do we see on the monthly chart of Apple that is interesting that we should be paying attention to? On the Apple chart we can see that we had a very nice gap over here. This gap took place between 2013 and 2015, we could say, and what this tells us is that at this level over here we have a whole lot of liquidity that's sitting there, and that liquidity needs to be grabbed by the market at one point or another. It might take 2 years for a price to get to this level, it might take 10 years, it might take 15 years, whatever, but one day price will come down to this level to grab that liquidity, right? So what else do we see on the chart? As much as we have this gap over here, just note that we had a very nice W structure in this region with the neckline being here. Price broke the neckline to the upside and then went down to test the neckline, and this is where we would have looked for buying opportunities at this point. And then we saw price pushing further up, right? And then we saw price coming down to retest the neckline of this W structure, and this neckline is also a very strong area of support, and that is because they are, let me just actually make it bigger so you guys can see clearly. So this neckline is also, as I said, a very strong area of support, and that is because there are multiple rejections at that level, and recently we saw this rejection, so it made sense for price to continue to push up, right? So what I'm going to do now is just add a neckline to that support area. Just bear with me, or rather a neckline to the W area. The neckline is now support, as I've mentioned. So here we are, right? Here we are, right? So what else do we see on this chart that we should be paying attention to, right? So as much as we had a W structure in this region, we also had a very nice M structure at this point, with the neckline being somewhere in this region. The neckline was broken to the bottom, and we saw price going back to retest the neckline, and we can see that price actually pushed further up instead of closing just at the neckline or just below it. Had it closed at the neckline, we would have looked for possible selling opportunities, right? And our take profit would have been this level over here. Nonetheless, we can see that price actually went through the neckline, and what may actually happen is it may continue up rather to around this point to actually form a very nice M structure, and this would be the second leg of that M structure, and we might possibly look for selling opportunities at this point over here, right? Anyway, let's proceed. So what else do we see on this chart that we should be paying close attention to? In fact, I'm just gonna actually mark this area because it's a very strong level of resistance, and as I said, we might see price in the future giving us a very nice M structure, and we might look for possible selling opportunities at that point. Having said that, as much as we have this area being an area of strong resistance, what may actually also happen is price may push further up, breaking this level over here and making it an area of strong support. And should price do that, we will wait for it to come back to this level again, which is a level of support, and then we will look for possible buying opportunities. That is, if price closes above this level. Anyway, let's proceed. So what else do we see on this chart? In fact, I'm just going to mark that very strong level of resistance as well, because it is also very much important, and I do not want us to forget about it. Let's see. So here we go. Here we go. There we go. There we go. So from here, we're now gonna head down to the weekly chart. So here we are on the weekly chart. So what do we see on the weekly chart? Let's have a look. On the weekly chart, I can see that we also had a very strong or a very nice M structure over here, M structure rather, with a neckline at this point, right? Price broke the bottom side of that neckline, and as I said, it went up to retest it, but we can see that it failed to hold. I spoke about this M structure on the monthly chart, but it's very much clear on the weekly chart, right? Anyway, let's proceed. So what else do we see on this chart that we should be paying attention to? Let's have a look. We can see that we also have this candlestick over here. It is a bearish candlestick with a small body and a relatively long lower wick, which tells us that we have a whole lot of liquidity at this point and that the market needs to grab that point and at one point or another. In fact, I'm just going to mark that level as well because I believe that it is very important. Just bear with me. There we go. Right, to add to that, we also have in this region a gap, which is also a liquidity area, and it tells us that the market has to come back to this level to close that gap because it also contains a lot of liquidity. So we can safely say that at around the zone rather, we have a lot of liquidity at that point, and there is scope for price to move further down, right? Anyway, let's proceed. So what else do we see? We also had a very nice W structure over here with a neckline being at this level more or less, right? We saw price breaking to the upside of that W structure. However, we've not yet seen price come back to the neckline to test it, right? And should price do so, we will most likely look for buying opportunities at this point, as the anticipation is for the market to move further up, right? I'm just going to add a neckline to the W structure. Just bear with me. I just hope that all my lines are not confusing you. I'm just adding them to the chart so that as we head down to the smaller time frames, you guys don't get confused and you can see exactly what it is that I'm referring to. Anyway, we've added the neckline to the W structure. I'm not just going to add the Fibonacci retracement tool just to see if the neckline aligns with any of the key numbers that we have on the actual tool. Just bear with me. There we go. Right. So we can see that the neckline of this W structure actually aligns with, it's actually in between the 50% and the 61.8% Fibonacci retracement levels, which are good numbers in my humble opinion. And as I said, should price come back to this level from where it is currently, we will most likely look for buying opportunities. However, I'm not saying that we should just buy by virtue of having price being at the neckline. I'm saying that we would look for possible buying opportunities, which means that we need confluence and further reasons for buying, right? So what else do we see on this chart? Another thing that I see on the chart that is very much interesting is the fact that we have a gap over here as well. And as I said, gaps represent liquidity, and liquidity needs to be grabbed by the market sooner or later because the market always goes to where the money is. Another interesting thing that I see is that we have this candlestick as well. It is also a liquidity candlestick, and it tells us that we have a whole lot of liquidity at that point. So as much as we anticipating that price should move further down to this level to test it, what may actually happen is that the market from where it is may push further up to trigger that liquidity that's over here, as well as to test this level over here. And as I said, it might give us a very nice M structure, and we might possibly look for buying opportunities at this point. As I said, I'm not saying that we should just buy at this point. I'm saying that we would look for possible, or rather, excuse me, not buying, rather selling. Excuse me. I'm saying that we would look for possible selling opportunities at this point. Anyway, let's proceed. So what else do we see on this chart? I don't see anything further. So what I'm going to do is head down to the daily chart. So here we are on the daily chart. Let's see. On the daily chart, we can see that we also have another gap at this point, which needs to be grabbed by the market. Earlier, I had spoken about the gap that's over here, and I said that it also needs to be grabbed by the market, right? We also have a candlestick over here, which is a liquidity candlestick that needs to be grabbed by the market. So can you guys see that, as I said, there's so much scope for price to move further down, right? Not only to this level over here to test the neckline of this W structure, but to move even further down to these levels over here, because we have a whole lot of liquidity that's trapped over there. Because you also look at it, we also have another gap over here. Well, actually, no, I'm not right. I'm incorrect. The gap has been closed, so you can just ignore this one. But nonetheless, there's a lot of scope for price to move further down. Anyway, here we are on the daily chart. On the daily chart, I'm just gonna attempt to add a channel. Just want to see if I can add one. Just bear with me. Let's see. Just bear with me, guys, while I add my channel. So there goes our daily channel. We can see that we are in a very strong uptrend. There we go. Right. So what else do we see on the chart that we should be paying attention to? We also had a gap over here. However, it has been filled by the market, as you guys can see. And we also had a very nice M structure over there, small M structure, with a neckline being there, more or less. So the neckline is also a very strong level of resistance, and that's probably why we saw price reject at this level as well. Right. Anyway, let's proceed. From here, I'm just going to head down to the H4 chart. So here we are on the H4 chart. I'm just going to fix my channels just to ensure that they are accurate. Right. So here we are on the H4 chart. Right. So what do we see on the H4 chart that we should be paying attention to? On the H4 chart, I really don't see much. We can see that currently price seems to be moving in a sideways manner at this point, and we also have this candlestick over here. It is a liquidity candlestick, and it tells us that it price needs to just head down a bit just to grab that liquidity at that level, right? Having said that, just also bear in mind that we have an overextended M structure over here, with a neckline being at this level over here, more or less, right? So we should be, in my humble opinion, looking for selling opportunities at this point. Should price come to the neckline to test it, right? Should price come to this level, I think we should be looking for selling opportunities. In fact, I'm just going to add a neckline to that structure. Just bear with me while I do so. So there goes my neckline. So not only would price be coming to this level to test the neckline of this M structure, it would also be coming here to close the gap that we have here, because there's a whole lot of liquidity sitting at this point, right? So I'm just also going to utilize the Fibonacci retracement level. Let's see. So there goes the Fibonacci retracement tool. Let's see. Right. And we can see that the neckline more or less aligns with the 61.8% Fibonacci retracement level, right? So as I said, guys, I think we should be looking for possible selling opportunities at this point, should price retrace from where it is. Having said that, I'm not saying that we should just sell by virtue of having price reach this level. I'm saying we should look for possible selling opportunities. So in other words, what I'm saying is that it's also possible that price may reach this level and we actually don't sell, right? Because what may actually happen is price, and I think this is what's currently happening. As much as I'm saying that at this point price is moving sideways, we actually have a very nice W structure over here, and it'll be better visible on the H1 chart as well as the 30-minute chart, right? And the neckline is at that point. So as much as I'm saying that due to this structure and this neckline also being in alignment with key Fibonacci retracement levels, and that we should be looking for selling opportunities at this point, what may also happen, as I said, is that price may push further up, right? And that ties in with what I said earlier. If we can just go back to the daily chart, in fact the weekly chart rather, on the weekly chart I had said that at this point we have a very strong level of resistance, and price may push further up to test that level and then push further down to give us that very nice structure, right? So let's go back to the H4 chart, right? Yeah, so from here I'm just gonna head down to the H1 chart. Let's see. So on the H1 chart, here goes that W structure that I spoke about, with a neckline being somewhere here, right? And we know that when it comes to W structures, a lot of traders and investors buy on that second leg of the W structure. So yeah, as I said, what may actually happen is price may push further up to this level and actually push even further up, right? However, in as far as buying or selling goes at this point in time, I would not be rather I don't see any opportunities. However, I would wait for price to reach this level over here, and I would potentially look for selling opportunities at that point. But also bear in mind that on the bigger time frames, such as the weekly chart, price is in a very strong level of, or rather is in a very strong bullish trend, and we might see the market push even further up to this level over here, right? So that is it in as far as my analysis goes of Apple. Things at this point in time are a bit all over the show. In as far as buying or selling goes, I think the best thing to do really in conclusion is to wait for price to reach either this level over here or this level over here where we have this neckline, right? Because if we can just go back to the H4 chart, as much as I'm saying that we should potentially look for selling opportunities at this point, I've got a feeling that this point is not as strong as the other levels that I spoke about on the bigger time frames, such as the weekly chart and this level as well as this level, right? So in conclusion, as I said, as much as I said that we should look for possible selling opportunities at that point, it's probably best to wait for price to get to this level or this level, and then that's where we should make our buying and or selling decisions. I hope that makes sense. I hope that was not too confusing. If you have any questions, just make them in the comment section and I will respond. Cheers.